Hi everyone. Yesterday we looked at the Federalist paper number 1 and hopefully you have now finished the quiz. If you haven't finished the quiz, then stop the video now and go and do the quiz online. If you finish the quiz, then let's watch the video together and I'll help you to understand some of the ways to answer these questions. These questions might be quite difficult for you, but they are going to be similar to what's in the GED exam. Now, what does the inefficiency of the subsisting federal government refer to? The US Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, Articles of Confederation, or the Emancipation Proclamation. Now we know the Emancipation Proclamation was during the Civil War, and this is what set the slaves free in the Confederacy. We are talking about making the Constitution. We're talking about the late 1700s, around 1787, when they were having the Constitutional Convention, not 1863. So take away the Emancipation Proclamation. So is it the US Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation? Let's look at the passage. After an unequivocal experience of the inefficiency of the subsisting federal government, you are called upon to deliberate on a new Constitution for the United States of America. You are called to deliberate, to discuss, to vote on a new Constitution. So we can't be talking about the old Constitution because we're talking about the inefficiency, the way that the old one was not working. What was the rule of law before the Constitution? It was the Articles of Confederation. So this passage is talking about why the Articles of Confederation did not work. Question 2. The document states, to decide the important question whether societies of men are really capable or not of establishing good government from reflection and choice. Now this comes from the passage. Okay. It has frequently been remarked that it seems to have been reserved to the people of this country by their conduct and example decide the important question whether societies of men are really capable or not of establishing good government from reflection or choice. Now the question is, which earlier document, so which document before this had stated it was the right of people to overthrow a government that did not protect its people? Well, again, it cannot be the Emancipation Proclamation, that's just the wrong time period. And it's before this, which earlier document, so we're talking about before this, so it cannot be the US Constitution either. So is it going to be the Articles of Confederation or the Declaration of Independence? You should know that the Declaration of Independence said it is the right of the people to overthrow a government that does not protect its people. It talks about the British government. It talks about all the horrible things that the British government did to the American people. And it says it's natural law. God gives people freedom. And you institute a government to protect those freedoms. And if the government becomes a danger to the protection of freedom, it is the right of people to overthrow that government and institute a new government. This was in the Declaration of Independence. Question 3. What is an example of force that had been used to impose will in the past? Well, it says in the past there had been force. So it's talking about the British. Now, the colonists supporting the British in the French Indian War was their choice. The Americans had chosen to help the British fight against the French. The stamp tax is not really about force. Force means physical. This might be oppression, but it's not force, as in the physical idea of force. And the Louisiana Purchase is too late. This is coming years later in 1803 when Thomas Jefferson bought the Louisiana area from the French. The answer is the Boston Massacre. The British had used force to try and make the people obey their tax laws, and they had shot some of the Bostonians that were protesting against the British. 4. Who was Hamilton arguing against? You should know that the Federalist Papers are arguing in favor of federalism. So he is in favor of federalism. He is against the anti-federalists. The anti-federalists were the people that did not want a strong federal government. They only wanted to have independent states. The Republican Party, well, they came in the 1850s, so they are too late. The Democrat Party did exist, but they are not linked here. We're talking about the Federalists versus the Anti-Federalists, those that wanted the Constitution and those that did not want the Constitution. So the correct answer is the Anti-Federalists. Question 5. Which sentence shows the author thinks people will be influenced by selfish motives? Key there is the selfish motives. Now, this idea, sorry, you can't see all the sentences, the screenshot just cutting it off, but this idea will add inducements of philanthropy. Philanthropy means giving money away. So this is not selfish, this is generous. So it cannot be the first answer. Happy will it be if our choice should be directed by judicious estimate of our true interests, a right understanding of our true interests. This is positive, it's not selfish, so take it away. The third answer says, but this is a thing more ardently to be wished than to be seriously expected. He says, people will not really be looking for the right thing, they will be looking for something else. They will be looking for their own idea. The third answer is correct. 6. Who does Publius mean by a certain class of men? Can we see this in the passage, the certain class of men? Among the more formidable of the obstacles which the new constitution will have to encounter may readily be distinguished by the obvious interest of a certain class of men in every state to resist all changes which may hazard a diminution of the power, emolument, and consequent of the officers under the state establishment. Now the key there is the officers. Who holds an office? An office is a position that you are elected to. So officers talk about politicians. Yes, we do have officers in the army. We have generals, colonels, majors, captains, lieutenants. But these officers are not in this passage. We're talking about the office of the state. So the state is the government, and the office of the state is the elected position in the government that people may hold. So we're talking about politicians. 7. Why are some honest people's thinking unclear? What does it say? It is not, however, my design to dwell upon observations of this nature. I am well aware that it would be disingenuous to resolve indiscriminately the opposition of any set of men, merely because their situations may subject them to suspicion, into interested or ambitious views. We see ambitious here, but it says it is not my design to think about ambition. Candor will oblige us to admit that even such men may be actuated by upright intentions. They may have upright intentions, and it cannot be doubted that much of the opposition which has made its appearance or may hereafter make its appearance will spring from sources, blameless at least if not respectable, the honest errors of minds led astray by preconceived jealousies. Led astray means go the wrong way. Unclear, go the wrong way, kind of here. People may be blameless, but they still may be led astray because of preconceived jealousies. So the last one is the correct answer. Preconceived jealousies. Don't get confused by the ambition and the ambitions. It begins by saying it is not about ambition. The honest people, the blameless people, may have honest errors, true errors, because they are led astray by these jealousies, by these preconceived jealousies. 8. What is not mentioned as a reason for unclear thoughts? Well, ignorance, ambition, animosity, or party affiliation. Let's start here. Ambition, avarice, personal animosity, okay, party opposition. So we have animosity, we have party affiliation, and many other motives may be more laudable, okay, but they would oppose the right side of the question. Ignorance is not mentioned in this list. The other three are clearly in this sentence and they are linked together. The one that is not there is ignorance. So the correct answer is ignorance. 9. Which two phrases show the tactics that will be used by parties against the Constitution? And yet, however, these sentiments will be allowed to be. We have already sufficient indications that it will happen in this, as in all former cases of national discussion. A torrent of angry and malignant passions will be let loose. This is not a tactic. This is passion. This is feeling. To judge from the conduct, the action of the opposite parties, we shall be led to conclude that they will mutually hope to evince the justness of their opinions. They will hope to do this by doing something, by the loudness of their declamations and the bitterness of their invectives. So the correct answer would be the loudness of their declamations and the bitterness of their invectives. Their conduct means their actions by how you do it. I will pass my exam by studying hard. My action is to pass my exam. How I do that is shown by that word by studying hard. Here they will try to persuade people by being very loud and bitterly showing their invectives, showing horribly, using very emotive language why the other side is wrong. Question 10, what can be inferred about the opinion of the author? So we're looking for an inference. We're also looking for the opinion of the author. On the other hand, it will be equally forgotten that the vigor of government is essential, so the energy of government is essential to security of liberty. That in the contemplation of a sound and well-balanced judgment, their interests can never be separated. So the interests of the government and the interests of the people cannot be separated. A dangerous ambition more often lurks behind the suspicious mask of zeal for the rights of the people. So those that say they care about the people are dangerous. Those that have a zeal, a passion for government, are more good for the people. History will teach us that the former, those that care about the rights of the people, lead to despotism than the latter. So, this is showing you that governments are good for people's rights. So we can take away answer B and answer D. The government is good for people. It's saying you should want a strong government. Now, is it going to be A or C? And it's difficult. I made this question. I'm just realizing it's quite a difficult question. I'm wanting you to choose C because it's choosing a federal government will protect people's rights. If you said essential for liberty, then actually you're not choosing an inference. You're choosing something that is stated directly in the passage. What you can guess he means is that the federal government will protect people's rights. Answer A is stated directly. Answer C is the inference that you can make. Okay, I guess that was quite difficult for you. But the only way to get better at this is by practicing answering these types of questions. So after each document that we do from now until your exam, I will try to make short quizzes like this of about 10 questions, and then you can practice reading these old passages and trying to answer questions about them. Over the weekend, I would like you to read the next document in the book, which is called Brutus II. Look up any vocabulary you don't know and try to understand the main idea. Next week, we will go through the passage together and I'll give you another quiz with 10 questions.